Hello, the game has started and it's my opponent who's opened with front. I have a pretty balanced rack, but the V, the K, not ideal for bingos. Now there will be a few extensions to front. For example, frontier, IER, and a few others, fronters, ERS I would think. No extension that I can see with these tiles, so I'll be looking to get rid of the K, possibly the V. So I can do that with knife. Not a great rack leave. Chat GPT would agree with me on that one, but I think I will go with knife. It does take a D and S and probably another hook, but let's see what we pick up. I have picked one vowel, unfortunately not good enough, hugely unbalanced, and no real vowels to play through apart from the E, and that'll just be face value scoring, which is unideal. Now, any extensions for front with these tiles? Frontest? Frontist? Don't think so. Knives and best possibly would be worth doing. 25 points. Yeah, shame that I only picked up the one vowel from 4 tiles. That's a bit unfortunate, but I'll just have to deal with it. I've got spent as well. 29, that's a little bit better. Bit more volatile in terms of exposing the triple word squares. Opponent has played UFO, which takes a B. A B. Well, it doesn't really help me because a play of beg is pretty weak. I think spent 29. Is there a way of placing the S, getting the double word square, but not exposing the trip? Best and pest still leave 3 consonants on the rack, which is unideal. But I think I'll go with... it just doesn't feel best. What about print? 21. It is more defensive. BGS, not a great rack leave, but I think I will go with print. That's a bit better. I've now got 2 vowels and a blank. I have the bug component of a word. Sandbugs, no. I have the EST ending. That doesn't help. I've got sub and knives with a decent rack leave. 23, mediocre. But is there a bingo here? Bag users? Why does that ring a bell? Bag. Now I've got the bags component of a word, or bag component. So, and the bus component of a word. Bus tags? No. And the sub component. Okay, opponent has kept the board pretty tight. Sub. Sub, okay. Bag. Sub. There's got to be something here. Probably a compound word. Bus bags. Bus tags. Bus bags. Bus tags, no. Don't know what I was thinking of there. So maybe just sub. Almost sure I'm missing a bingo, but in terms of rack leaves, that's probably the best 4-letter set from the initial 7. I'll go with sub. Okay, I don't draw any vowels at all, which is a shame. So it limits the flexibility of the rack. Plagueist. Plague. No, that would be a 9. Stapling through an I or an N. Might be a compound word here as well. Tap. Tell wegs, but not tell pegs. Opponents provided a Z for zap. Doesn't help bingo prospects, I don't think. And I think I will go ahead and play zap and hope to draw at least one vowel. Yes, that's better. So, scores are pretty close. Bingo's ending in P. Not a lot of those. There'll be a few bingos here with this rack. Prent takes an S, I believe. Tangles is an option. Affronts. Does affront take an S? Yes, I think it does. So I should be bingoing here. What about tangles and affronts for 74? No, affront does not take an S. I had my doubts about that. So, prents and tangles. And not a bad pickup. Fairly balanced, some scoring potential. Flawn as a 5 stands out. And the E down onto the trip. Okay, opponent has scored well with a bingo of his own. Now my F plays quite nicely under this I, and I have fin across, but do I have a play across? Wow, look at this, flawn for 58. Now I have the wind component of a word. Let me just make sure I'm not overlooking a bingo. So windfall would be nice onto an L. No L available. What about the T? And the A? Okay, not seeing anything there bingo wise, so I'll go with flawn for 58. Terrible pickup, almost as bad as you can imagine. The I's of absolute no use to me, 4 of them. And not seeing a way to resolve the rack, so I'll almost certainly be changing unless there's an ing word. Maybe dicing is worth doing. 2 I's, not terrible considering there are only 2 to come, so unlikely to draw. I'd be unlucky to draw a third. So I'm liking dicing. That's been taken out, so I might well be changing here. Anything through the T? Nope. Now I've got egg, but that's hardly worth doing. 17 with a shocking rack leave. It does take out the T as a floater, so it's got some merit strategically in that respect. The J, I can't get value off that one. Now what about digit? That gets rid of 2 I's. There is an X and a Q to come, so I'm reluctant to play this, gifting my opponent an easy. Well, the Q wouldn't be fantastically dangerous, but the X could be. I'm still going with it. Digit for 20. Not great at all. I draw more vowels. And de-ice is a 3-letter, a 5 with 3 vowels in it. So that would be worth considering. But I just hope my opponent doesn't whack down an X here for 40, 2 directions. Now, what about the T? Deceit doesn't quite get the double word square incorporated. Yam doesn't take anything I've got. Nevi doesn't score enough. The board quite tight as well. Ur takes an A. Yeah, just not seeing many great. De-iced just to get rid of some vowels. 11, pretty poor, but slightly better than changing, I'd say. Only slightly. Vide. Yeah. Just not seeing great options here. I've got to get rid of 3 vowels, I feel. The T, there's got to be something through the T here. Okay, opponent's play of wove leaves the W. Doesn't seem to be of much use to me though. Dewy, I don't think you can spell dewy that way. That would have been perfect to get rid of all those vowels. Dewy, yeah. Now, what about a word ending in ID? Not seeing good options here. Jeez, 22, but look at the rack leave. Shocking. What about eidetic? An eidetic memory. Yeah, that'll work. Now, pretty volatile, but it's certainly got rid of a few vowels. And awa, is awa good? Awa. Not sure about that. Doesn't look overly familiar. Hayode is good though. Subtakes. Gee, this vowel heavy rack of mine not ideal. Now there are more consonants to come than vowels. My time's quite low, as is opponent's. Awa. Now what about horde? That's good for 39. And I'd go ahead and play that if opponent leaves the spot alone. Heed leaves a whole bunch of vowels on the rack. I might have to do it though if opponent takes the top right. Oh, he doesn't, but Awa and Hayode is what I was thinking of. Or is it Hoade? Yes, Hoade. Always get those ones mixed up. Hayode, Hoade. One of them's a vowel. Now, the X spot remains available. I have WAB, pretty mediocre as far as score goes. Boom, if opponent doesn't take that spot. I'm about a bingo ahead, but there's a blank to come and some good bingo lanes, so opponent likely to bingo. I have to assume he will. Boma 31. That's not bad. XED is good. But then axed here. Boma. Can I score more than 31? Oh, nice by opponent, but I do have bread and boom. Boom, I think I'll go with. Or a AB word. Ab-ohm, but I don't have a H. I think I'm going to go with boom. For 45. Now opponent's likely to have the X and he'll play it here at 5E, getting 2-directional score on that one. What do I do? I don't have a bingo. I have Drant. I have there's no double A word I can think of. Cat. He's played cat. I can play wad. He's got X plays there. I'll go with rad or trad, just to take out that X play. And, he's almost got loxygen, not quite. Lysogen I'm thinking of, no. So, can I go out with A-E-N, definitely, I-D and earn. He's played sexy and strad. Wow, he's taken the lead, but I should win with... I should have thought about that play, the S hook for trad. So what have I got? I've got... Yeah, earn should do it. Got 50 seconds. Rain, what about rain? Rain isn't good like that. That would have been nice. Yeah, I think I'll just go with earn for 11. That'll do it. Probably was a higher score somewhere. So 392 to me, 385 to opponent. Let's see what we missed. Back to the beginning of the game. So front was opponent's play. And then knife seems fine. Kiev at 7J. Across the top. That's not bad. Same rack leave, 1 extra point, but keeping the board tighter. So I do like Kiev there. Now opponent's not far from a bingo, but none available. He goes with UFO. I'm Val dry here, so beg for 19. 6H. Bufo. I did contemplate it, but the consonant heavy leave. But I suppose there is a lot of synergy. All I need is 1 or 2 vowels, and I'm in a very strong position. But look at that, pen knives. That's not a bad score, 36. But I went with Prent. Keeping the board tighter. Yam for 44, big score for opponent, and a nice parallel play. Now there were bingos, sagbutts, bagshas, not everyday words, but yeah, these ones I'm not familiar with, so I don't feel too bad for having vaguely familiar sagbutts, but yeah. So I went with sub, and then opponent's got Ritz for 36. That gives me Zap for 42, but Zag for 39, slightly better synergy, I guess, on the remaining rack, the remaining tiles on the rack, so slightly better equity, even though the score was slightly lower. And I guess 2 G's to come and no P's to come also kind of makes the Zag play a bit better. Jill for 22. Okay, opponent exchanged. I've got a whole bunch of bingos there. So the Gallants for 74 at 12C would have been a better score. Of course, because I put the blank on the double letter square, so that I lost 2 points there. And actually it was very close at the end, so I should have really thought about maximizing the score there, but I rushed that one a bit. Leisure comes down for 64, which gives me a nice 58-point power play in Flawn. And then Juco for 31, Jong for 24. And look at this rack from hell. But Digit got me out of trouble a little bit there, albeit opening up floaters for opponent. Now Wove looks fine for opponent, and then Eidetic was best according to the analyzer. Opponent's got the blank, but the rest of the rack a bit ropey. Huia for 22, best sim. Now Death for 42. Where was that? N10. Oh, so it does. It takes an A. I was actually half thinking that when I thought, what hooks does sub take? And I thought about the A, but it didn't ring a loud enough bell for me. So that would have been a nice score. Gee. Albeit a rubbish rack leave. But look at that score, 42. That has to be best. Howard got rid of a lot of vowels, but yeah, again, created an X hotspot and also some floaters for opponent, so yeah, much of a muchness. Now opponent had a whole bunch of bingos to play here, goes with Enticer, which gave me Boom, but A Boma, yes. I thought there was an A-B play. Oh, but that's A7. Look at that. Sorry, there. A7. So, yes, it was a Boma. An extra 5 points missed. Now, I've still got a fairly good lead, but I saw these power tiles that were yet to come and thought it's going to be close at the end. I knew it would be close, but look at this Oxy for 54 at E4. Oxy, that's huge. Maybe opponent was worried about the Q, but he had a QI spot here and a QI there, so he wasn't swallowing the Q, even if I tried to block. So I think Oxy would have been, but yeah. Opponent goes with Cat just to get rid of the Q. Not bad, 18 on a closed board. Now, Trad was a mistake. Rand would have been better, yes. I should have thought that through. So Trad, a definite suboptimal in terms of the S hook. And Rand would have taken out the X hotspot. So Sexy for 48 was best. Strad. And then Earn for 11. But Nair, where was Nair? J3. Oh, N-A-R-E, yes, Nair. Not rain, but Nair. So that was the end of the game. Pretty close at the end there. Just 7 points in it. 1 or 2 misses, but yeah, an interesting game, I thought, strategically. Rushed 1 or 2 moves, and as a result, almost cost me the game, particularly that trad play. That's why it's so important to learn your 4 to 5 hooks, because you can often put an S in front of many 4-letter words. Just have to learn them. Hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.